Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of, oh my gosh, there's so much new stuff to play with, where we're going to actually play with our new geothermal engine, and probably get some more of the stuff around, and go check out some more stuff. By that I mean, hopefully get to this ancient aquifer drill up here. Now that's going to require us finagling some power up into that area somehow, some way. Now that could be one of two ways. We dig into our science and start working on a steam engine, which is not the worst idea, honestly. I feel like that's not a bad way to go about it, but that requires 400 science. And then of course the entire metal production process is going to take another 550 science. So that's going to be a fair amount of science that we don't have readily available to us, and obviously our inventors' huts are empty because all of our beaver positions are occupied elsewhere. All right, that being said, we should be able to get into that or rectify that here soon, because we're going to save a beaver here. We've already I'm already thinking about moving this stuff over here so that we're able to actually get in easier to this geothermal engine, as opposed to just running a power line all the way across the way and just having to delete that. So we're gonna have to accept the loss on some of the logs here, which is okay, and then we'll accept the losses on the logs there and accept the losses on the logs there, which is kind of stinky, but it is what it is. And I probably should have thought about that when I did put those in initially, but you know, that requires me to think. And I've never been one to claim to be the smartest when it comes to this game. I play by the seat of my pants, and it works half the time. Anyway, that'll be something for our builders to come in and rectify for us. Hopefully we can get all these logs picked up for us relatively quickly and get that rebuilt. Let's go ahead and get into the game, though, and check out how this is all going. So this seems to be a constant 400 source. This does not require us to feed it anything. I am curious to see if there are ebbs and flows to this, just like we have with, not seen here, the windmills that you have on the folktail side, which hopefully means that this will be a constant source of power without any input ever. I feel like that's going to be nerfed, though. I feel like that's a little much, considering early game 400 horsepower within the first 45-ish minutes of playing the game. I don't know if that's exactly how they anticipated that to be going, but you know what? I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain right now, because I have 400 units of horsepower like rocking and rolling right now, and that is glorious. And we are going to get that unpaused or drop down to 1 so we can keep at least some science moving right now. It is kind of holding us back. I do want to start working our way up here at some point. 1, because that's 200 science right there. 2, because we are going to need access to these ruins. 3, we are definitely going to need access to this aquifer up here. Now, we did have a couple pop-ups. It seems they have audio notifications turned on for these bad water sources. So at 3 days out, you do get a notification that something is happening. It happened when I was in this mode, so I didn't actually get to see the pop-up. We do have a new well-being score of 7, though, because we do have housing finished, and we do have fermented cassavas working for our beavers right now. So that is looking brilliant over that. So that is amazing. We are going to get our fermented cassavas back up and running, though, because that is going to be a boon for our overall food production and our livelihood for our beavers. Now we can do some small things like get on a teeth grindstone in here for our little guys, which would be nice for them. And then we can also put in probably not a rooftop terrace, but we can put in a campfire back here. It'll provide a little bit more entertainment for our beavers at night when they are not doing anything. I think 1 should be enough for now, and that will keep them entertained and get our well-being score a little bit higher. Let's see what our first, let's see here. We already are at 20% work speed, 5% movement speed, and, well, 20% overall health. So that is good. This guy seems to be well-rounded. He's getting plenty of sleep. Probably need to pull back the work hours here soon, but I'm feeling like we're at a good pace right now. I don't want to do that because things are working. I will expand our cassava production just a tad bit because I feel like we're not meeting the demand with that right now. We should be able to cover down on all of that without too much of an issue. I do want to start thinking about getting up here though, because that is a lot of real estate for us to get into, and we can irrigate that area pretty easily with a set of levees as well as a fluid dump. Now that of course requires us to have copious amounts of water available to us, which we don't necessarily have right now. But you are officially bored over here, so that means that you get to be a builder somewhere. Or we could test this out. We've got 3 days left, and this hasn't moved. It has not moved. Now I'm curious what happens when this does change into a bad water source. If it turns into a bad water source, I don't know if it does turn into a bad water source. We will have to see. And hopefully one pumper here isn't going to actually drain this entire pond. That would be kind of awful. I'm not looking forward to thinking about that, but we do have 187 science, so that means that we can go ahead and start working on getting our platforms unlocked, burning that science there, and we can go ahead and get our stairs in and up, and away we go. Now, that will get us up to here. We will have to burn some additional planks to get up there in this current environment. And now we can get down here as well. Probably don't need to get down there, honestly. That is a little bit of lumber up there for us to gain access to, which will be nice. Probably not entirely needed, but it is nice to have. How much of that do you cover down? You cover down a fair portion. Maybe we'll get lumber moving a little bit quicker instead of that. So let's go ahead and get that guy unpaused. You have a little bit more to continue to plant for us, and we could probably not pause you because you are backfilling stuff as it's being chopped down. Sweet. Berries, we do actually need to expand our berry production because that is going to be an issue for us in the near future, and we don't want to deal with that. Sorry, the textures kind of threw me off for a second there. It looked like brambles for half of a second. They've already got us up here. That is awesome. We can go ahead and get our pathway installed, and we can even start thinking about unlocking our scavenger flag in the near future. It still requires 250 science though, and we're nowhere near 250 science. We need to get another 105 of that rocking and rolling for us. Now this is great. We are currently burning through, I think these are 50, that's 75 or 50 and 50, so that's 100. We've got room to expand. We probably need to start thinking about gears soon, but I don't know. We really need to tackle that quite yet. We do want to get up here though, because that is, like I said, where we're probably going to work our way into a nice area back in here. I do want to unlock levees. There's so many things I want to unlock. Okay, so let's go ahead and work our way over here. That's going to give us 200 science. That will get us moving a little bit nicely on the overall science production for our beavers. And let's just go ahead and sneak around some of these things there, and we'll hit this demolish button. Hopefully they can get over there pretty quickly. We do need to think about additional beavers somewhere, because we are going to have to pull them back from some stuff. So let's pause you, get water moving. So this did go down a fair amount actually, so that does not move forward in a drought. I should have anticipated that, but you know what? It's fine. Everything's fine. Probably pull this back down to 1. Let's restock our water supplies. We just need 4 planks, which we should have 4 planks moving here relatively quickly, and that will be grand. Go ahead and start thinking about expanding our beaver population just a tad bit. I don't feel like I want to do that quite yet because our water system hasn't been really solidified, honestly. We only have this one thing here. We could... No, maybe. I don't know. Whoa, autosave. Don't scare me like that. Alright. Get some more lumber moving. It'll be good. We're already up here. They already busted into that. So 400 science has been acquired. That was 200 from that one little piece right there. So that is a huge, huge leap forward in the overall science field. So that means that we can go ahead and unlock our gear workshop, which we require for our smelter. If I'm not mistaken, we do. So let's go ahead and get gears unlocked. It's going to be another, I think, 120 power, which is kind of stinky. But that will be necessary, and we also need to start thinking about where we can store some of our gears, which means we need to get gear storage in here quickly. I do want to store that up as much as we can, which means hitting that button right there. How we're doing food-wise, not the greatest. And science has stalled yet again because we had to turn on some other stuff. We could probably pause you since we're not chopping this stuff down right now. And we can't really pause you, but we can pause you since there are no berries available to you. I didn't tell you to chop anything down, so you're bored. We can unmark this just because I don't like this being green up here. Bada bing, bada boom. Brilliant. Awesome. That'll give us a nice little bump in overall lumber. And honestly, I feel like our science is better used unlocking the levee and the fluid dump. We need a little bit more in order to accommodate that. Which means we need to pause the gear workshop, which is fine. We can actually go ahead and get rid of that lumberjack flag because it's not doing anything for us. And once this dry season comes up on us, which we are encroaching upon a max temperate cycle, so that is nice. Do we want to do gears for that? Not really. Just keep moving forward with our water storage like this. And we will delete all this here soon. Not bad water. Need water, copy settings. Move that all the way across. That's going to eat into our lumber fairly, quite a bit, honestly. But that will provide us a nice backlog of water when our first bad tide hits us, which it could hit us this next cycle. Which is not the greatest thing in the world, honestly. That's mildly terrifying. But we do have enough science now to actually unlock our levee. So we can start putting that in here. Here. We can actually go ahead and remove this back there. And we can put our levee system right here and right here. That means that we now want to go ahead, put that in right there, and we'll go ahead and unlock our fluid dump. Not enough science points. I am 6 science points shy. I could have sworn I saw a different number. Come on. 2, 1. There it is. All right, sweet. That's unlocked. That's in. Now we get to put in our staircase into there. That goes up to here. We might even... not put that in like that. Let's go ahead. Do this like... How do we want to do this? Like this? And like this? No, like that. Yes. Go ahead and fill that in. Such as, and we'll put this last one in back there. And that can be where our fluid dump goes. We'll backfill this path in. And then we will put our 2 farmhouses. That's not going to work. Get rid of that, and that are unnecessary. Get rid of that. We will put this in right here, though. Now we can put our fluid dump right there. That means putting in one more platform right here. We don't need that there, honestly. We just need this right here like that. There we go. That'll be something for them to work on for the next 6 to 9 minutes, but that should provide us a fair amount of irrigation. These guys are going to continue to pump their hearts out and continue to fill all this in, which is going to be brilliant because I want to start expanding our beaver population, and quickly. That's going to be good. That'll be a nice pocket of land irrigated by that, and our 2 farmhouses should be able to cover down on all of that without too much consternation. We are up here officially, so that means that we just need to get power to this somehow, which means we need to start working our way up the science tree. We could do it one of 2 ways. Like I said before, we could go in the steam engine, or we could pipe geothermal energy all the way around the world up in this area. Can we demolish this? We can demolish that. Okay. So you can demolish the ancient aquifer drills and put in the new aquifer drills, which in theory produces more water. Yeah, there's the notification. At 3 days out, it gives you another pop-up saying that something's about to go popular. Bad jokes. Bad jokes. But it's all good. All right. We are up here. We are building our last small tank, which will take another 5 more logs, which we have the logs readily available to us, so that'll be good. We are moving on planks. We are moving on gears, which means we could do a couple things. We could unlock our medium tank here soon, and then it'll provide us with a lot more water storage in a 4 or a 2x2 area, as opposed to just this, 120 versus 300. It's a big boost, but that requires a lot of material. We can go ahead and pause you guys, pull you up to 4. We are at 750, which I feel is a fairly good amount of water, personally. You know, 750 for a 10-day drought for 20 beavers. We're looking at... They're about 60 units of water per day total. We've got more than enough for 10 days worth of water. Barely. We are going to need to severely increase our water production and storage capacity a lot. So maybe that's what we do actually work towards. Go ahead and unlock this medium tank. That's going to require a lot of gears, but that's a lot of gears that are going to be well utilized. Go ahead and change you to water. We'll copy that and put that over there. Brilliant. Now, power's moving on this side. We've got cassavas being brewed. We've got gears. We've got planks moving. This is going amazing for now. It could go bad really quickly. this first drought, which we're going to try to avoid by being proactive in all of the things that we do. Now, let's see where else we can be moving power. We could... No, I don't want to put in a large power wheel up here. Feel like that's a tad bit unnecessary. And a waste of our beavers that could be better used elsewhere. Okay, this is almost done, so that is nice. I do want to pause one of these levees. We'll pause this as well, just so they don't start dumping water in there unnecessarily. I feel like we can actually expand our beaver population by one more, and that means that we can come in here and throw in another barracks. Probably right here. We'll pull this over. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. That'll provide additional housing for us, but we need more lumber for all of that, which means we need to increase beavers, yada yada. You guys see, this is the constant back and forth that we're going to be dealing with. You are bored, so you get to go do other things with your life, which means what? Going into here and going into here. Awesome. That's a lot of lumber for us that we'll be able to gain access to. Probably want to get somebody in here to help with the... Yeah, with that. So let's pull this down to 1 or 3. Plus you up to 2. And that'll be good for all of that. Probably pause the farmhouse production, but I'm okay with those getting built. I do wish this geothermal field weren't right here. We're about to have this all irrigated, and that's going to be kind of necessary for some stuff, but that's fine. I did forget that those only require platform, or the platforms only require planks right now. And I've lost all train of thought. Sorry, I had to pause X there for a second, get a coffee refill. Let's see here. All right, we were talking about barracks that was going. We were building this up. That's right. Okay, we can unpause that now. Get that moving. We have 3 positions going unfilled somewhere. Where are we working? Inventor's huts. Both of those are empty, and then we're probably missing 1 beaver from somewhere. I don't know where. Probably... I don't know, honestly. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Says 3, but I only see 2. Could lie to. Oh, you know what? It's this. You guys don't need to be in there. There we go. That explains it. And we'll let them build that up, and then we'll pause the actual hut as soon as they are done building it. And we'll go ahead and turn on this fluid dump. That'll be a good place for them to start dumping the water. I don't want them to start dumping the water yet, though, because we're in the middle of a drought right now, and I want to actually get more water stored up before we start tackling that. We do have gears being produced and planks being thrown into our medium tank here, so that is good to see. Our farmhouse is almost complete, but they're probably going to finish the fluid dump before they finish the farmhouse, because the fluid dump was put in before the farmhouse. Priorities of placement, yada yada, blah blah blah. That's good. We can probably pull back on a builder and increase our plank production by getting our 2nd person in here, which means that they produce a plank every 0.63 hours as opposed to 1.3 hours, which will be nice. We are dumping water, which is not what we wanted to do, but that did irrigate quite a bit. I am curious to see how much irrigation this provides down in this layer. It probably comes out to about here, honestly, which isn't the worst, but it's not the best either. We do need to pause you guys, because that is a highly unnecessary position for right now until we can get some additional beavers in. Now, the next build should be these medium tanks, which will provide us a lot of water storage, which will be really good. for this next cycle, which I'm anticipating being our first bad tide. And that will be our first look at what a water seep does with a bad tide, which would be very interesting. And I'm mildly concerned about what that's going to hold for us. We do have a lot of lumber, though, so I don't anticipate lumber being a limiting factor for a minute, so that would be nice. Science is moving, but slowly. I don't want to pull back on our building right now. We could pull back a little bit on our log production since we are at 74 logs and we're only producing planks and gears right now. There's our first medium tank, though, so that's going to be a huge boon, like I said already. And now we're just waiting on a few more things to get built. Kind of want to drop this priority-wise, just so that our gears and our planks can meet up or catch up with our demand there. So that means that the barracks here will get built first, which will be good. We do have a spare beaver floating around, so we could go ahead and put them in there. We do have 3 kits now that are on their way to maturity, which is going to be awesome. Let's see here. We could start thinking about small things like decorations. It's only 20 science, and that will provide us with a little bit of happiness for our beavers. We can go ahead and put stuff like that in. I don't want to burn science on the rooftops yet. That's a tad bit unnecessary. Nowhere near getting our first labor monument in because that's 1,000 science and we're nowhere near that. All right, let's think about scavenger flags. That's 250 science. And maybe the next couple of beavers that are that reach maturity, we will get into science huts. That might be our inventors huts. Maybe that's the best use of their time. So let's go ahead and build a couple of these. We do have 2 kits that are about to grow up. We're probably going to have a few that are going to pass away, sadly, but we do have 3 breeding pods actively running right now. So our beaver population should peak at around 30-ish and stabilize there. So that will be good in the grand scheme of things. Our shrubs are in, so that will increase our happiness by a good bit, and that will be amazing. Now we can think about stuff like putting in an additional fermenter. Probably not, because we need to unlock the oil press. We need to start making canola, which we don't have going right now, which is kind of stinky, and that's 120 science. We have other stuff that we want to work on. 8 on the happiness scale is great to see, though. That's going to be coming from the shrubbery. It's going to be amazing. 392. All right, water remaining. That is not the best, but we do have water moving again, which is amazing, which means that we can hopefully get moving in a positive direction. Where can we pull back on some beavers? Probably slow the gear production for a minute, because that's a tad bit unnecessary. Or we slow... Did I not mark that for cutting? I did not. Oops. There we go. That would explain that. I don't want to cut into that at all because we still need to get those backfilled. So that is fine. We could put in another geothermal field over here and somehow funnel our power in to connect to this geothermal engine over here, but I'm not quite prepared for that. Is there another... I don't see another one. Let's check out this new waterfall stuff. It looks kind of the same. It's a little different for the most part. There's poo water flowing everywhere, so that's nice, I guess. Well-being of 9. We've got everybody sated and they're nice and not exhausted. They got campfire. We got shrubbery for everybody. Everybody's well fed on all the good food stuff. So let's go. That is what we want to see. I do not want to run into a berry issue, though. I'm just keeping an eye on that. Don't want to be dipping into those food stores. What did we just do? Okay, so we just got these, or that built. Okay, that forester is now empty. Yeah, we just had a couple. 2 beavers, no, yeah. And then we also turn these all on. So that's not going to be great. We could probably slow this down, pull that down a little bit. It's going to be only inventors' huts that are empty, and then one random thing somewhere. I don't know where. Probably pull this down to 2 again. I want water moving, and I want science to be moving, but we're not going to get science moving until we get more beavers to reach maturity, which takes a little bit of time, because obviously the breeding pods take a couple days to pop, and then a kit takes a little bit longer to actually reach maturity. But that's all good. All good. We can go ahead and put in another campfire back here. And connect that up like so, and probably... I want to really block ourselves in. Don't want to gain access to this side over here, so probably not put in another barracks right here. I do have this access over here. We could just put stairs up over here. Honestly, that's probably the best. That'll be fine. Kind of like having this. I'm trying to be a bit more, you know, conscientious of my build, so we can, you know, make things look nice. I know that's a rare thing for me to do, but I'm trying to make things look cool. But now we have a max storage capacity of 1,350 for our overall water, which is going to be amazing. Probably go ahead and plus that up a little bit more, just because we have the capacity to do so. We've got the gears, we've got the planks. Those are moving. That's probably where we lost one of them, from the industrial lumber mill. That's fine. Science is moving in a positive direction. We're still 53 shy of getting our scavenger flag, and I don't see any more pieces of science or flare floating around anywhere, which is kind of sad. Here's one. That's 800 science. That's a little satellite. A little satellite on the ground. All right. That's cool. Do those populate throughout the days? I wonder. Still don't see the explosive in here anywhere. I am concerned now for my well-being because I don't see it. Maybe this map doesn't have them. I don't know. I don't know. We shall see. Okay. Let's see here. Inventor's hut's empty. Still 21 units of science shy from our first scavenger flag being unlocked. We've got 3 kits that are waiting on maturity. Probably, I don't know. Do we want to burn the housing and the lumber to get another housing thing in? Yeah, why not? And just plug that in right there. We get to just throw in our last shrub right here just to make things look all symmetrical. We've got plenty of lumber or the access to it. We just need to increase our total beaver work in that regard. Science is at a standstill now just because we lost another. We lost Ukezcon. Rest in peace, Fred. You will be missed. Now, our 3 pumpers aren't necessarily keeping up with... I think they're keeping up with the demand, but they're not really... we're moving in the positive direction. We're at 800. probably increase the work hours for the last 2 days of this temperate cycle, which will hopefully fill in all of the things we do need. I want to get one more builder in here just so we can get this built before the temperate cycle kicks off. We should have all the materials available to us. Just a matter of getting it over here. Would be nice. And maybe something that we think about doing is not replanting that and getting some stairs up into this area just so that we can get a little bit easier access to everything. It'll be a little bit greener, you know, instead of this orange back in here. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that all pans out. And we can start thinking about unpausing all of this up here, but we still need more beavers to do that, which means these things need to start pumping out the kits really quickly here, because I want to get that next tier of stuff moving. We do have the science now, however, to start tackling our scavenger flags, which means our next science purchase is going to be the smelter, which is going to burn 300 science, which is a lot, but we should be able to get to that pretty quickly. That pop-up down here. I think that they should change that audio cue to something else. Don't think that that should be the same audio cue as our notification for our changes in cycles or our changes in bad tide to, or yeah, notification for our drought and or bad tide notifications. I don't think that they should be the same, especially if this is going to be a notification, a constant notification. But that's just me. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm losing my mind. It's highly likely. I am, you know, not the smartest or the brightest bulb in the pack, you know, is what they say. We do have 1,000 units of water stored up, though, so that is good. We can go ahead and pause these 3 since they are basically done. There's nothing else for them to do, but we do have more science for them to work on, which means we can get to our smelter quicker, which will be great. That's going to burn 20 gears and also 50 planks. We've got the 20 gears, we've got the 50 planks, we've got the lumber to meet the demand for those. We are going to lose one of our inventors once this does get built, though. Their builders are currently working on housing and shrubbery for us, which is totally acceptable. That did just get put in. We've got our first scavenger already grooving over here, and I need to find more scrap because that's not going to be enough for us. We've got some up here, which isn't in a bad spot. That should be relatively easily accessible, which is great. I do want to tap into this, but I don't really have an easy way to run the power up and over yet. I don't want to burn all of the material to get that grooving either. So, we do need to get building something because our builders are sat on their bums doing nothing. So, no, I don't want to burn wood. I don't want oil press is 120. I don't want to do that. What can we do with our... Do hauling post. We could get the hauling post up and running. We've got a few beavers that could go into that, and that would be a good spot for them to be proactive with their life. We also need storage in here for our... That's the wrong storage. That's still the wrong storage. That's the right storage. We need storage for our metal, scrap metal. So that it would be good. We can somehow finagle that up here, maybe? Yes. Put in a staircase right here, and maybe we put in a small storage, small warehouse for gears right here, or something. Or no, 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 no. I know what we're going to put there. We're going to put it in a small warehouse for scrap. Yeah. Small warehouse for scrap. You can be metal blocks. You can be our pathway up to there. We can also get in our stairwell right there and connect that up and make our pathing a little bit greener. Hopefully. Just need one log to get slapped into there, and that will make our lives a little bit easier for them. That's already in. Metal blocks is a place to go. We could probably get in another thing for scrap metal in here somewhere, somehow. Probably something like this up and running, and something like there. And then we toss in our large industrial pile right there. Grab this. Attach that. You can be scrap metal as well. Now that's all connected. Now we're green all the way back into here, which is going to be brilliant. Science is at a pause X again because of reasons. That's also... That'll explain why that's happening. So we need to plus up our science just a tad bit. So we can leave this at 5. Any spare beavers can go into there. And then we'll keep science a little bit higher on the priority list. Copy, paste that. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, priority copying throughout buildings will be amazing. And I am here for it. Now we could move our district center over here, since this is where the preponderance of our production is occurring. Like, this stuff on the backside is nice to have, but not really a big thing if their commute is a little bit longer. And we do have 4 kits, hopefully, that will grow up here soon. We do have 1 hauler going, which means that they can actually feed these breeding pods when they have spare time, instead of being reliant on spare beavers at night to do that. So that'll be good. How are we doing water-wise? We burned through 200 units of water in 4 days. So that jives a little bit with my math, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe we can get up into here. Pull these workers down to 1. Change one of these to harvester. And there we go. There we go. Get those guys turned on. And then we can start planting stuff like our cassavas back in here. Get rid of you. Let's do cassavas on this side. Back to there. Probably all the way back to there. Yeah. Then we could do soybeans, canola oil. Canola on this side. We want to leave a little bit of space for that geothermal vent right there. We could do soybeans back here. And that's all soybeans right there. And then eggplants. What that requires a food processing facility. I think same for the corn as well, which we don't really have yet. We can go ahead and just chuck on a geothermal energy or geothermal engine onto there for now, and they should be able to reach that, hopefully. Science has actually gone through the roof, which is amazing. So we can actually go ahead and unlock our smelter now. And this is why I made this 4 wide. One of the reasons why I made it 4 wide. Okay, we're not going to talk about the fermenter over there that's doing that. Okay, that is going to be a 200 demand. And we're at 245 out of 400. So that is going to be a hit to that. So we'll lose a little productivity on that, but that will be okay. We can snake this power up and over, I guess. Which is not a bad thing. Just need a way up there, which we should be able to do relatively easily. The question is, could they reach that point right there? I don't know the answer to that. Theoretically, they can. Too far from district. They cannot. Which means I need them to rip this out so I can get a path back there. Which is okay. Which is totally fine. We do need to unlock the vertical power shaft to run that up. That will require some of our gears and our planks from us, and that's gonna stink. I think power does transfer through the barracks though, but I don't think it transfers through the top. We could just have this go up over down into this barracks right here, and then have that feed out this side and then down, and then that feeds into there, maybe. Yeah. Options exist. We could tear this out. And then... yeah, I am going to tear that out. We're going to lose a little bit of planks. We're going to lose some stuff, but that's fine. I'm going to rip this out of there. We are going to put in this vertical power shaft, which... no, that's not gonna work. Darn it. Ding, dang, darn it. Why did I do that? I should have thought before I actioned. That's what I get for not thinking, guys. I accept full responsibility for that, for ridiculous and silly things that I just did, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Run power down and over. How do we do that? Get rid of those. Get rid of that staircase, which is okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and rip that out, They're gonna not like that for a second, but it'll be alright. And then we can do something like this. And then do something like this, I guess. Oh no. This is all ridiculous and highly unnecessary, but it's going to be necessary. Yes, yes. That all reconnected, and now we can run power through here, down to here, connect that. Now we just run power underneath here. Connect that to there. And now we just have to tell them to actually come do this. Please. Thank you. Actually, this is probably the max priority, so they can gain access to their housing again. Oops. Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't they build that? What are they building otherwise? Oh, they finished building the geothermal engine. Okay, that's fine. I'll allow it. And they did finish building this too, which is okay. These metal blocks are on the way, which is good. I'm happy with that. I just realized that I've blocked my access point to get up there and connect all of those things. Let's rectify that by doing that, that. And building up over here. We just connect there. Connect to there. And now we run the power down on this end. This vertical power shaft. Like that. Now we run this across. Such as, and then we just connect those two pieces when they are ready to be connected. But that'll take a second because they've got to fix the things that I have made their lives a little bit more painful with. All right, so that 10-day drought emptied us out a fair amount. We still have plenty of, well, the hauling post is empty, which stinks. But that is okay. We are moving and grooving. We've got vertical power shafts being produced. We've got stairs going. We've got additional power about to be grooving over here. We've got metal blocks being produced, which means that we could start thinking about unlocking the steam engine. Now that requires 20 metal blocks, which will take a minute to get fully produced, which is fine. We've got plenty of scrap moving around, and we should probably get all this cleaned up because there's going to be a lot of logs, a lot of scrap metal floating around in these rubble piles. Which is fine. We'll get to it eventually. Or hopefully they'll get to it eventually, but we shall see. Now we've got a bunch of kits that have got to grow up because we are not meeting our return on our beaver. I did just turn on 3 of the water pumps, so that kind of makes sense. We could probably pause you for now because you're not doing anything productive for a little bit. We can get back here. We can connect that in, which means that gets connected, and then they can continue to build all of that. We've got a place to store all of those things. We do not have a place to store everything else, though, so we do need to get that rectified. That means that you are going to be soybeans. We need a place to store our canola seeds. And then that will also require us to have a place to store our canola oil. But that can wait a little bit. They are working on this up here, so that is good. It's great to see. Water is back up to 500 units. We're already on day 3 of the temperate cycle. Hopefully we can get this moving a little bit quicker. We have already exceeded the potential for a min temperate cycle, so that is good. But we shall see what happens with this next cycle, which I'm very, very concerned about. We can go ahead and fill all this in, because this is all about to turn into poo water, I'm assuming. And I don't really have a way to filter that out quite yet. Maybe that's what we unlock next. Is our bad water pump. Because a bad water pump means we can pull all the bad poo water out of here when it turns into a bad tide. What does a water seep do during a bad tide? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. And I am very not excited to find out. Because all of this is about to disappear on us. And that is not a good thing. Means we should probably be thinking about moving our berry production somewhere else, as well as moving our forestry somewhere else as well. So we need to start doing that yesterday, honestly. I should have done this a long time ago. Where can we go easily enough? Don't want to go up there. We could go up here. That's a decent plot of land. Let's do that. Let's get up here and get that in. You come back here. We can save a little bit of our lumber by blocking this off here, blocking that off and that off. Now we just put in our fluid dump right there. We put in a couple of our platforms right here. And that turns into a place for our forester to go in right there. Now we need a gatherer flag back here. Do I have somebody in this gatherer flag pulling this up? Yes. Are we full on berries? Yes. So we'll be fine for a minute. We'll be fine for a minute. couple cycles, but I want to be more fine than I currently am. We got 1 day before our first bad tide kicks off. So what is that going to look like? I have no idea. Thankfully, we've got foodstuffs back here moving. We've got cassavas already being produced. We've got kohlrabi going. We already started soybean production and canola production. We don't have a place for that to go entirely yet, but we do have it moving. So that is good. So we'll be good on food for a little bit. We're probably going to take a hit on our lumber production for a little bit. I do want to increase our work time for 24 hours because we are definitely not meeting the water requirements for this next bad tide. Now, in theory, it should be shorter than normal because it is the first one of the cycle, but we are also on cycle 6, so in theory, it's not going to be an easy one. All right. What's it going to do? Bad tide kicks off. And there it is. All right, we've got a few days to pull out as much of this water as possible, I suppose. This is going to theoretically fill in as fast as a water seep can. It should not exceed 0.8. So if we pause this and stop pumping water out, this should only fill in at the rate of evaporation. At least in my mind, that's how that will work. Now this will all expire because this... Wait a second. Does that mean every... Okay, hold up. No. Is it only the aquifers that are tapped that turn into poo water? No. Unconnected building. Nope, that's fine. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Things to think about. Things to think about indeed. All right. Well, welcome to our first bad tide on our brand new playthrough. It's not going nearly as bad as I thought it would, but it's going to get worse. I didn't know that that was going to happen. I'm very concerned now for the future of our aquifers and production of water from said aquifers. But I'm going to get out of here. If you guys did like this video, if you would be so kind to hit that like button. If you hadn't already hit that subscribe button, I would appreciate that as well. We are moving our way up to 1,000, and it is going amazing. At least I think so. In my head, it seems like it's going amazing. Anyway, have a fantastic day wherever you're in the world. Make sure you guys stay nice and safe, nice and hydrated, nice and thirsty as well, and keep rocking the free world, guys. Keep your beavers thirsty and hydrated too, okay? Don't neglect your beavers, guys. I'm out.